So I'm all in on the Falcons this year. Anybody who follows this show or the RotoWire show or Twitter, you'll know that I'm going to lose a lot of money if the Falcons don't come through. That's how high I am on this team, whether it's high stakes FFPC or betting. I think this Falcons team, even last year, I was high on the Falcons, and I was praying for them to bring in Ryan Tannehill to get some competent quarterback play. It didn't work out, but now we have Kirk Cousins. This is a top 5 offensive line. Zach Robinson is comes from that McVay coaching tree. Even Raheem Morris, the head coach, has, he's a defensive-minded head coach, but has some offensive experience. So this is going to be a deceptively good football team. I love the over on their win total. So let's get back to the stacking. Kirk Cousins right now, it's embarrassing how free he is in fantasy football drafts.
Yeah,
I don't understand how it happens. And the crazy thing, I'm in best ball drafts right now where I'm thinking I'm sitting back, right? I got my fork and my knife ready to eat dinner. And then Kirk Cousins is going as the quarterback 13 off the board. I'm seeing Kirk Cousins go as a quarterback 18 at his price. So if you want Kirk Cousins, forget about his ADP. If you know who you're drafting with and you think they're going to reach for Cousins, you need to go get him because there's a lot of volatility on where the hell he's going, despite what that ADP says. I'm seeing him or people take him 2 rounds ahead of ADP, which is fine because Kirk Cousins has an high floor quarterback. Now, his ceiling is capped. He brings 0 to the rushing upside. But can he still finish as a top 8 to 12 quarterback? Absolutely. And again, you're paying right around ADP 18 quarterback off the board, maybe as high as 14. You're still going to get that immense value for him. When it comes to his assets and stacking, it gets tricky because you're basically paying Drake London's ceiling that we don't even know if he can hit because Drake London's first 2 years in the NFL have not been good in fantasy. That's not his fault. Bad system, bad quarterback play. And I think people need to stop paying attention to the past and look ahead to the future because everything I just said about Kirk Cousins and why I like this Falcons offense, well, if you're buying into all that, then you really should be buying into Drake London. We know Kirk Cousins can support an elite fantasy wide receiver 1. He did it with Justin Jefferson. I think now, I don't know if Drake London has Justin Jefferson in him. What I mean by that, I don't know if Drake London's ever going to pop as a top 3 fantasy football wide receiver, but Drake London going as the wide receiver 14 off the board in PPR, I think he can certainly finish in that 5 to 10 range. Again, you're getting the value compared to what you're paying for. Yes, of course, there's a risk because we've never seen him do it before, but he has everything in place. You got the quarterback, you got the line to protect the quarterback, and you have the offensive mind to make it all go. And on top of that, the supporting cast, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Bijan Robinson. We talk about the 49ers. Well, how do you defend all of these guys? How do you defend all of these guys in Atlanta with the elite running back? Kyle Pitts, this guy in his rookie season had over 1,000 yards receiving. That's how good Kyle Pitts is. I think people are forgetting that he had that in him with Marcus Mariota. Like, what is Kyle Pitts going to do? Now, I was talking earlier about Dalton Kincaid. I would also take Kyle Pitts over Sam Laporta and Trey McBride if I'm looking for ceiling. And what I mean by that, if I'm in the high stakes tournaments or the best ball tournaments where points mean more than anything else, I think Kincaid has and Pitts both have higher ceilings than Laporta and Trey McBride. The cheaper part of this stack is obviously Darnell Mooney. And what I like about Darnell Mooney is that he had that 1 year in Chicago, albeit he was treated as wide receiver 1. We know he can handle a higher target share than he's been getting. And we know he's a pretty good big play threat. This is another guy who's never had the good quarterback or the offensive system. And Kirk Cousins, let's scale back to him. Kirk Cousins has a history of supporting productive fantasy wide receiver 2s, most recently in that small sample size with oh God, the second year receiver on the fucking Vikings,
Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison. So again, this Falcon stack, I think it might be my favorite fantasy football stack this year, and a big reason for it is because the quarterback is cheap, is dirt cheap. Like it's again, it's mind blowing how cheap Kirk Cousins is in fantasy, and you can realistically build this stack with London or Bijan, Kyle Pitts, and then go ahead and get Kirk Cousins later.
Steve?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's definitely a good value. I definitely want to have a little bit of this. I mean, London is not the separator that Jefferson is, but he's a better contested catch guy. That's the type of style he plays. So yeah, I mean, you would expect London to really smash this year. Second round is, you got to grab him there. Obviously, it's a little bit tough, but then you got to get Kirk Cousins, which you could easily do, and then you could get Mooney 1,000 yards a couple of years ago with the Bears. He's been banged up last couple seasons, kind of hurt his numbers as well. And then Kyle Pitts, I don't know what to think of him. I mean, yeah, another 1,000 yards in his rookie year, but sometimes I look at his route running; it's a little sloppy. But you'd have to think with a guy like Kirk Cousins, his numbers should only get better. And then you got Bijan as well, who's going to catch a ton of balls. So this is a very interesting stack because you could do it multiple different ways. I mean, you could get Cousins with Bijan or Cousins with London. You can get 2 or 3 of these guys. And then you could get Mooney late or even maybe Rondale Moore possibly as well if you wanted to just, get a little bit different. But, yeah, I like it. I mean, this team should only be better offensively. It makes a ton of sense. Kirk Cousins has been nothing but solid throughout his career, and he's going in the same round as Stafford, and it's kind of similar. These two guys, you want to try to get, probably want to try to get 2 of these guys with the quarterback. So with Stafford, maybe like Puka and Demarcus Robinson or Kyron or, Kupp and Kyron, something like that. And then with Cousins, maybe, again, London, Pitts, Bijan, Mooney, Rondale Moore, maybe 2 guys, you get a triple stack there. So yeah, I like it. I really can't argue against it. It just makes too much sense, and it's such a good price for Cousins. So I can't really say anything against it.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about Cousins is, prior to the injury last year, he had finishes of QB2, QB4, QB6, QB10, QB9. He had 2 weeks where he's QB22 and QB24, and then he finished QB12. I mean, like, he had, 3 finishes in the top 6 and 5 in the top 10. I don't know if it's the Achilles and people are just afraid that he's not going to come back and be the same guy. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
It's the rushing. It's the lack of rushing, and people are enamored by that.
People want the rushing upside, and I get it. I mean, Cousins was leading the league in passing yards before he got hurt last year. I mean, I'm not gonna. It's not the craziest thing to say that he was in the early MVP race. I mean, he was leading the league in passing yards. He only had 5 interceptions in 8 games, and he was, touchdowns wise, I want to say
the Vikings were playing great football. Their defense was playing great, and that was a devastating.
He had 18. He had 18 touchdowns in the first in that stretch. 18 touchdowns, led the league in passing. Only 5 interceptions. Yeah, the rushing upside's not there, but it's never been there. But it's not crazy to think that he has the ability to beat his ADP out. And if I'm stacking, look, I get it. The Drake London, we haven't seen it. And I know Out of Rhythm came in here and said, if he hasn't popped then, why not pop now? And I feel like Anthony pulled it up and he was waiting to kind of comment on it. So I'll let Anthony kind of get his take off.
I already said it during my little the take was look at the situation he was in. And one of the comps is DJ Moore. DJ Moore wasn't great in Carolina, and every year is it the year? Is it the year? Is it the year? And then his ADP getting cheaper and cheaper. He goes to the Bears last year. It wasn't even that big of a, like Justin Fields, not like he's the greatest passer in the world. And he literally unlocked DJ Moore. And there were people who were afraid to draft DJ Moore because they've been burned year after year. Don't get caught in that trap. Realize what Drake London is inheriting with the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. And also one more hidden, it's almost like a bonus with Kirk Cousins. Bijan Robinson as a receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah.
That's added Cousins stats right there.
That would have been one of the best stacks, or could have been one of the best stacks. DJ Moore and Fields. Fields missed a month too. So remember Tyler Badgett was filling, and Tyson Badgett. But yeah, again, Mariota was pure trash. He's shot, and then freaking last year you had Ritter and freaking Heineke. Forget about the Taylor Heineke. He's done too. So yeah, I mean his quarterback play has been absolutely atrocious. Now he's got a guy coming in who's thrown 30 touchdowns, 3-4 times in his career. So yeah, a huge difference.
And he's a magnet for making wide receivers good in fantasy football. I think that's the big thing to remember.